What lurks behind the glitz and glamour of one of hip-hop's biggest icons? Today, a shocking federal courtroom trial exposes secrets so dark they could shatter everything you thought you knew about Diddy. Cassie Ventura, 8 months pregnant and poised, became the epicenter of a courtroom so tense you could hear a pin drop. Her testimony promised to peel back layers hiding a sinister side to Diddy's world. The courtroom was silent as she revealed disturbing details of ritualistic abuse, meticulously orchestrated and chilling in scope. Nothing was left to chance. Lighting, music, oils, even the presence of staff and cameras played a part. This wasn't just about fame or control, it was a web of dominance and manipulation that stunned everyone present. Today, we dive deep into Cassie's testimony, the reactions it unleashed, and what it means for one of hip-hop's most powerful figures. The courtroom atmosphere and Cassie Ventura's entrance. Cassie Ventura, 8 months pregnant, stepped into the courtroom under a heavy silence so thick you could hear a pin drop. The entire room stiffened, every eye fixed on her as she made her way to the witness stand. She wasn't just another accuser, she was the key to unfolding an explosive case. Wearing a gray maternity dress with a high collar, her gaze straight ahead, Cassie looked less like a pop star and more like a witness to a war. The tension in the room was palpable, the air charged with anticipation and fear of what was about to emerge. Reporters exchanged grim looks, some jurors seemed visibly tense, while Diddy sat on the opposite side, quiet, his usual confident demeanor replaced by visible signs of nerves. His hands trembled slightly, fingers intertwined tightly as he avoided eye contact. The judge's eyes scanned the room, acknowledging the gravity of the moment. This was no ordinary testimony. It felt like the opening of Pandora's box, the start of something none in the courtroom were ready to face. Emotions hung heavy, with some jurors wiping away tears silently during the preliminary questions. The atmosphere was electric yet suffocating, charged with the weight of years of secrets about to be exposed. Cassie's poised entrance wasn't just a legal formality, it was the moment that set the tone for what would become one of the most disturbing and compelling trials in recent history. The ritualistic system of abuse described. Cassie uncovered a chilling pattern. These were not random acts but a controlled spectacle. Every detail, from lighting to oils, was meticulously orchestrated like a high-budget production, revealing Diddy's obsession with power over every moment. She described how Diddy ran his freak-offs like a film director. Precise, choreographed, and fully produced. The lights were dimmed just so. Music was selected ahead of time. Scented oils were used. Even the towels were laid out methodically. As if the bedroom was a soundstage. He was always producing, Cassie said, even in the worst moments. It was like he needed control over every second. She testified that these sessions followed a strict 4-step system. Step 1 was descriptive foreplay. She was required to speak aloud everything that was happening, narrating it in real time like a graphic audiobook. He wanted every detail, she said. Step 2 involved excessive application of baby oil and lubricant. During the federal raid of Diddy's property, prosecutors found over 1,000 bottles, enough to fill a pharmacy aisle. Cassie explained that every 5 minutes the application would be redone, covering not only her but the male escorts too. The goal was clear, they had to look like they were wrapped in cellophane. This wasn't just visual. It was about dehumanization. When you're covered in oil, you're not a person anymore, Cassie said. You're an object. She described sliding on oily sheets, sometimes losing traction and falling, which would provoke either laughter or harsh berating from Diddy. According to her, the entire process was about power, control, and submission. He wanted to own the image, to direct the scene with absolute authority. Hidden cameras were present as well, little red lights blinking, recording everything. Cassie had no idea where the footage went, but she knew he kept everything. Assistants and staff played active roles during these sessions. They would bring towels, reapply oils, or hand off recording equipment. Nobody intervened, they treated this like normal routine. The system was ritualistic, organized, and chillingly methodical, showcasing a side of Diddy that went far beyond the public persona. The 4-step process of the freak-offs. She broke down the disturbing sessions into 4 distinct phases: descriptive narration, excessive application of baby oil, oral servitude under watchful eyes, and the final acts that varied by Diddy's mood and the escorts involved. Each step was about domination, not intimacy. The first step was what she called descriptive foreplay. Cassie said she was required to speak aloud everything that was happening, narrating it in real time like a graphic audiobook. Diddy would sit in the corner and demand every detail: what she saw, what she felt, what she thought. This was his way of maintaining control by forcing her to relive and verbalize every moment. It was like he was directing a scene, precise and orchestrated. The second step involved an almost obsessive use of baby oil and lubricants. Over 1,000 bottles were seized during a federal raid, enough to fill an aisle at a pharmacy. Cassie explained he stopped every few minutes to reapply oil, covering not just her but the male escort as well. The goal was to make their skin shine like cellophane, stripping away their humanity, reducing them to objects. This ritual wasn't for pleasure but to assert control and power over their bodies. Step 3 was what Cassie called oral servitude. She described how she would try to rush through it, not out of disrespect but sheer desperation for it to end. Diddy would provide off-screen directions demanding slower motions, more eye contact, treating the moment like a scripted performance in a disturbing role. Oral servitude was less about connection and more about submission to his twisted vision. Finally, Step 4 covered intercourse, which wasn't always direct. Sometimes he just watched silently, other times he participated depending on his comfort level with the escort. The sessions varied but the underlying theme was always control, power and domination. Cassie revealed the aftermath rituals too. Diddy demanded she take the male escort's semen and rub it on his chest and nipples. He liked it, she said through tears. It made him feel powerful. These actions shattered any illusion of consensual intimacy, replacing it with chilling displays of ownership. Each step in this 4-part ritual built upon the last, weaving a narrative of torment expertly directed by Diddy. It was less about sex and more about breaking down and rebuilding on his terms. Substance influence and forced participation. Cassie detailed being dulled by pills and substances she never fully understood, all supplied by Diddy. These drugs blurred time and memory, pushing her through rituals she felt trapped in and unable to refuse. She said, "I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how to say no to someone who had my entire life in his hands." The substances, whether alcohol, weed, or pills, were given to her to dull her senses just enough to get through the sessions. This chemical haze made it nearly impossible to resist or fully process what was happening. When Cassie tried to refuse the demands, she recalled Diddy's chilling response, "If you don't do it, someone else will." That threat hung heavy in the room, highlighting a grim control that went beyond physical acts. Under the influence of these substances, she felt disconnected and powerless, forced to participate in the depraved rituals designed for domination, not consent. Cassie described moments when she lay intoxicated on the floor, frozen, as events unfolded around her. It was a terrifying loss of control, exacerbated by the drugs and the environment Diddy constructed to keep her compliant. The use of these substances wasn't incidental, it was a calculated part of the abuse cycle, ensuring silence and submission. This control extended beyond the moments of the sessions, lingering hours after, leaving Cassie disoriented and emotionally broken but unable to speak out or escape. Despite the haze, she remembered everything, every detail of the abuse committed under the guise of these ritualistic freak-offs. Involvement of staff and hidden surveillance. Assistants and security weren't bystanders, they maintained the setting and sometimes even handed equipment mid-session. Cassie testified that her presence was more than passive. Staff would come into the room during these intense moments, not to stop anything, but to replenish towels, reapply oils, or manage recording devices. It was as if they were part of a well-oiled machine, complicit in the continuation of these rituals. Diddy's control extended beyond just the participants, it involved a small inner circle dedicated solely to preserving the ambience and flow of these orchestrated events. Hidden cameras and obvious recording equipment were everywhere. Cassie said she lost count of the little red blinking lights she saw, signs that every act was being captured from multiple angles. The footage was a guarded secret, kept under tight control by Diddy himself. Prosecutors nodded when questioned about it, implying ongoing recovery efforts but never revealing full details in court. The fact that these sessions were recorded turned a sinister spotlight on the level of control and documentation involved. It wasn't just abuse, it was performances frozen in time, possibly used for leverage or domination. This added layer of surveillance and staff participation painted a chilling picture of a systematic, institutionalized nightmare behind closed doors. Testimony from DA, the male escort, and contradictions. DA's calm testimony complicated the case, confirming some claims but shifting blame, even admitting Cassie asked for certain acts. He said, "Cassie asked me to," when questioned about the incident involving urination. This revelation momentarily stunned the courtroom and forced the prosecution to adjust their strategy. Despite this, DA corroborated many other distressing details, describing the atmosphere as weird, very controlled. He explained the strict rules: no speaking unless he asked questions, no touching him, and everything had to be on camera. This detailed insight confirmed the highly orchestrated environment Cassie described. DA also recalled nights when Cassie emerged with bruised arms and teary eyes, hinting at abuse behind closed doors. He described an instance where he witnessed Diddy shove Cassie against a wall during a heated argument, emphasizing, "That wasn't a freak-off. That was abuse." Cross-examination revealed that DA had been compensated handsomely, receiving thousands of dollars in cash for his participation. However, he admitted to cutting off contact with Cassie after witnessing escalating violence, including an incident where Diddy allegedly threw a bottle across the room. "I didn't want to be around that," he said. While DA's testimony introduced contradictions, it ultimately reinforced the narrative of control, surveillance, and violence pervasive in these sessions. His insider perspective offered jurors a complex, sometimes conflicting view but did not undermine the overwhelming evidence of abuse. The courtroom felt the weight of his words, as he stepped down visibly emotional, reflecting the gravity of the case unfolding before them. The viral hotel video and physical violence evidence. The trial took a shocking turn when prosecutors played the now infamous 2016 Intercontinental Hotel surveillance footage. The courtroom fell completely silent. No dramatic music, no voiceover, just raw, unfiltered violence. The video showed Diddy stalking Cassie through a hallway, grabbing her by the back of her head and throwing her to the ground. After a brief moment, he walked away only to turn back and kick her again as she lay motionless. It wasn't a scuffle. It was a calculated cold attack, and it was all caught on camera. As the footage played, Cassie sat stone-faced while Diddy, already visibly tense, began to twitch and fidget in his seat. His defense team knew this was a devastating blow. The prosecution paused the video multiple times to zoom in on key moments. The way Cassie's body hit the floor, the emotionless expression on Diddy's face, the distance between the two, making it clear this wasn't a fight, this was an ambush. Prosecutors then introduced Israel Flores, the hotel security guard who responded to the scene. Now an LAPD officer, Flores testified that he saw Cassie in a dazed state after the attack and had to intervene when Diddy refused to let her leave. "She was crying," he said. "She kept saying, 'I just want to go.'" He added that Cassie had a visible bruise under her eye. Though this detail was curiously missing from his 2016 incident report, something the defense would later pounce on. Diddy's attorney tried to dismiss the footage as an isolated outburst, arguing that even if it looked bad, it didn't prove racketeering or trafficking. But prosecutors countered with chilling precision. They laid out a timeline of incidents showing this wasn't isolated. This was a pattern. They connected the hallway assault to the darkroom sessions, arguing that Diddy's rage always boiled over when he couldn't control Cassie's behavior. To support this, they brought in a digital forensics expert who showed that Diddy had deleted multiple videos from his personal cloud storage just days after the Cassie assault. Some of those files were partially recovered, and while they weren't played in court, they were entered as evidence with descriptions like Session Room 3 and Cassie Freakoff 2. What started as a chilling account of private abuse was now backed up by video evidence, forensic data, and real-time reactions from a man visibly falling apart in court. When the footage ended, the courtroom was stunned. Even jurors who had remained expressionless throughout the trial now looked shaken. Additional witnesses and expanding accusations. One by one, former assistants and artists took the stand, sharing bombshell revelations that deepened the courtroom's shock, revealing a larger, more sinister system behind the abuse. A former assistant testified that weekly orders of baby oil and lubricants came in bulk, and she was strictly instructed not to ask any questions, simply to follow orders. Another assistant recounted walking in on Cassie, sobbing alone in a dark room after one of the sessions. "She looked like a ghost," the assistant said, her voice heavy with disbelief. Cassie had whispered, "Please don't tell him I'm crying." These heartbreaking moments peeled back the curtain on the emotional toll this took. But the most explosive testimony came from a woman named Trisha Weller, previously unheard of in any legal actions. Trisha claimed she was lured to one of Diddy's 2017 events under the guise of a private dinner for creatives, only to find herself trapped in a room with three unknown men, one filming the entire time. She described the door being locked, trapping her inside against her will. Later, she was paid $7,000 through a shell company connected to Diddy's event staff, a payment she never disclosed until now. Trisha also spotted Cassie in the hallway afterward, who deliberately avoided eye contact, as though she was all too familiar with such dark encounters. Each witness added layers of credibility to Cassie's claims, shattering any illusion that these incidents were isolated events. Instead, the courtroom was left with the chilling reality of a decades-long machine, carefully crafted to fuel Diddy's hunger for control, domination, and humiliation. Diddy's visible breakdown and legal battle. From his once commanding presence to a trembling figure scribbling notes desperately, Diddy's unraveling was palpable. Attempts to suppress evidence failed, while the prosecution laid out a damning pattern of control, silencing, and a financial trail of hush money. His once cocky demeanor now fully collapsed, replaced by a sweating, panicked man in a suit 2 sizes too big. He slumped forward in the courtroom, whispering something to his attorney before putting his head in his hand. The defense filed motions to remove graphic testimonies and evidence from the jury's view, but the judge denied all requests, stating that the severity of the allegations necessitated complete transparency. The prosecution's closing argument was piercingly clear: this was not about mere bad choices, but premeditated trauma. They presented a timeline showing how Diddy consistently paid off, silenced, or buried accusations over the years. More revealing was a leaked financial ledger from inside Diddy's own team, showing monthly payments labeled as care, silence, and loyalty, sometimes as high as $80,000. When confronted with this, Diddy reportedly looked down and said nothing. This legal battle exposed cracks in the armor of a man once untouchable, revealing the human frailty behind the mogul's empire. The trial's future and broader implications. With over 100 alleged victims waiting in the wings, the case against Diddy is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher. What began as a harrowing personal testimony has ballooned into a potential RICO-level criminal enterprise investigation, threatening to expose not only Diddy but others who enabled and profited from this dark system for decades. Each new witness promises to peel back more layers of this twisted empire, and the evidence already presented paints a picture of meticulous control, financial hush money, and long-running abuse disguised behind the veil of fame. Legal experts warn this could be one of the most significant cases in music history, rewriting how the industry confronts power and accountability. As the trial moves forward, all eyes remain glued to the courtroom, waiting to see if justice will finally pierce the shadow surrounding one of hip-hop's most powerful names. This trial transcends one man's fall, shining a spotlight on systemic issues that demand broader cultural reflection and change. The ultimate outcome could reshape the entertainment world forever, proving that no one is untouchable when the truth comes to light. Diddy's downfall is a stark reminder that behind fame and fortune can lie unimaginable darkness. This trial isn't just about one man, it's a devastating look at how power can corrupt and how long-hidden truths finally surface to demand justice. What unfolded in that courtroom revealed a meticulously orchestrated system of control, trauma, and silence that spanned years and engulfed many. The testimonies, the videos, and the evidence paint a portrait not only of personal torment but of a broader machine of abuse. With over 100 alleged victims waiting to testify, this case is far from over, hinting at a sprawling network that enabled and perpetuated this cycle of abuse. It challenges fans, followers, and the industry alike to confront uncomfortable realities lurking behind the music and the spotlight. As the curtains close on this chapter, the ripple effects will likely reshape how we view celebrity power structures and accountability. Ultimately, it leaves us with a chilling question: how many more stories remain hidden in plain sight, waiting for their moment in the light? The road to justice is just beginning,